Welcome to the Salt Strong Fishing Podcast. Salt Strong has been helping saltwater anglers catch more fish in less time for 10 years and is now the largest and most trusted saltwater fishing community in America. If you want to catch more saltwater fish, then keep listening. If you want to speed up your fish catching results even faster, then join the private insider community at saltstrong.com. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Fearfully and wonderfully made. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again with Salt Strong Unchurched. And I've got some problems going on in our household, in particular with a teenage daughter. This is our first child. We have 3 young kids, and this is the first one who is officially a teenager and about to turn 14. And for any of you parents or even grandparents who have recently or just in the past gone through that struggle, it can be tough, especially that first one. And I think just like any sort of change in behaviors and personalities, etc., it throws parents for a loop, right? You get used to your kids, and especially as a father, you get used to your daughters loving on you, want to be around you, and daddy's little girl. And at least for me, that has changed here recently, where I've been just butting heads with our daughter, Shauna, probably more than any point. Actually, definitely more than any point. And it's been really frustrating for me because we're wired so differently. And even I'm trying to put myself in her shoes as a teenager, how I was thinking and acting, and certainly when it was not perfect and certainly thought I knew everything, but even just what was driving me at the time and how I behaved and things I did, it's the exact opposite of how she's kind of handling things and doing things. And I've really, really struggled with it. And been praying on it a lot, and talking with Lauren about it, and just a lot of evenings just frustrated. And as teenagers, you're trying to kind of buck the parents off of your back on everything, and just constantly trying to push the limit on things. And so she knows how to turn my buttons, and so I feel like it's come to not a standstill, but it's the point where, all right, there has to be some sort of change. And so what I love about God and what I love about being around godly people is the message and the right things always seem to come out at the right time. And so C12, that's that Christian mastermind group I'm a part of that I've mentioned before. I had our meeting last week, and it's a new essentially a brand new theme every single week, or every single month. Apologize. And this past theme was fearfully and wonderfully made, and the theme was essentially leading from your true self, and also understanding that other people were perfectly and wonderfully made by God for a specific reason, and that we've really been knitted together by God. And so have our kids and our grandkids and our spouses and the people we work with, that, even though they might look different and act different and have been wonderfully made and woven different by God, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It means it's a great thing. It's perfection is what God did with each of these people. And it was just exactly what I needed to hear, because I was sitting for my shoes, also thinking, well, she just needs to be more like me and understand my way of thinking and do the things I want to do. And I realized after that meeting that wasn't the answer at all. In fact, I need to just be a guide for her. I need to lead her and to love on her and be there for her when she needs it, instead of trying to mold her into what I want it to be. And it sounds so obvious, even as I'm saying that. And I mean, heck, there's been movies about it, right? And you've heard, countless stories, and maybe we're even a part of one of those stories where you see that mom or dad forcing the kid to do what they wanted to do. I'm not talking about career moves and that kind of stuff, but just in general, that, I think as parents, you have this just instinct, um, almost like an automatic reaction to kind of want your kids to do something similar to you and to think this similar to you and to behave similar. And you can get embarrassed and frustrated, et cetera, when it's not happening, especially when you know something could be better for them. And I don't know, it was something I needed to hear. So I'm hoping that someone listening to this needed to hear the same thing. Maybe you're butting heads with a loved one. It could be a kid or a spouse, parents, grandkids, coworkers that you're trying to put them into your box. In reality, man, God created them perfectly and literally wonderfully made. And actually, it's a psalm, Psalm 139. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. And the same thing applies if you're struggling with yourself, right? I started this conversation off about struggling with other people, like I have my daughter here recently, but even ourselves. And that's something that I know we all do. It's especially with this social media, this day and age, we're constantly comparing ourselves and watching what other people are doing and seeing their best part of their lives, not the worst part, just the best part on social media, and certainly comparing ourselves to others. And that's another one. I mean, it's called imposter syndrome, right? Where we get this nagging feeling that we need to be more like them. Why can't we be more like them? And no, we have to just go back to those roots that, hey, we were fearfully and wonderfully made. And then I'm going to now skip back to the original thing about, loving on and being around people who are different. If you look at Jesus's life and the people he surrounded himself with, they weren't all like him. I mean, he was perfect. He was Son of God, and he surrounded himself with sinners and tax collectors who were even worse than sinners. Back then, that was like the absolute worst person alive. I mean, he surrounded himself with everyone that you would not think that the top priest of the day would want to associate themselves with. And yet Jesus purposely went out and was seeking those people. And, when the Pharisees would always attack on him, like, I can't believe this man saying he's the Son of God and he's sitting here with sinners and, prostitutes and tax collectors and thieves and bad people. And, his response was always something to this effect that, doctors don't need to go see healthy people. They need to go see sick people. And he's like, I'm, if I was the hospital, why would I only want perfectly clean people who have never sinned? I'm going out there to free the sins of this world, not to go find only the perfect people to join me in my quest. And that's something that we all need to remember. I mean, he was very purposely going out and still finding people who were wonderfully made and had that very specific purpose that they played in the history of the world and throughout the Bible. And now that's just a good reminder to me that Jesus was seeking out people who were different from them. He was teaching them. He was guiding them. And that's really what I need to do a better job with my daughter. And ever since I've taken that mindset, I feel like things have gotten better, even our relationship, because there was just tension. And when someone irritates you, and I go back to like my college roommate, I had one in particular that thankfully didn't last very long, but it was just everything they did, even if it was nice, irritated me. Have you ever been in that situation where someone has pushed your buttons or you just dislike them so much for whatever reason or reasons that there is literally nothing they can do that you don't find something wrong with it? And that's where I was. I was getting in that sort of mindset with my own daughter, which I'm grateful that I have this platform where I can just be honest and share, because I'm willing to bet some of you have been in similar things. I mean, heck, think of all the people who go through divorce. I mean, half of America has been divorced. That's, that same sort of feeling usually happens in a lot of divorces. Thankfully, I'm not having issues with my wife. It's just my daughter, but it was just that similar thing where like we had pushed each other's buttons so much and probably irritated each other so much. It wasn't a one-way street, certainly. It was the point where just everything was bugging me. And I was like, man, that's not how I want to live life. And that's not how I want, my daughter remembering, me and thinking of me in those teenage years. And this is the time where I need to be a guy. It doesn't mean I got to be your best friend. I think that could be a mistake with kids in particular, but it does mean you need to be there for them, to guide them, to support them. Those are crazy years, especially starting to go through high school and just all the fears and anxieties and life changes and body changes and all that stuff that's happening as parents, and it's just grandparents, loved ones. That's the time to be there for them, to be good listeners, and to be good, really just guides. That's kind of the best word I can come up with. 'Cause that's really what Jesus was doing. He was guiding us. He certainly led, but at the end of the day, he was a guide. He didn't force anyone to do anything. He was just guiding them and was there to answer their questions and provide miracles and really just open up people's eyes to what the opportunities were out there for believing in him and believing in God. So all that being said, just wanted to share that. It was on my heart. And as I said, I've been dealing with this for quite some time. And it kind of all came to a boiling point. And then lo and behold, my C12 meeting really just put in my heart to have a different perspective. And I went home even with a different perspective. And I'd be lying if I said it happened overnight and we just smiled at each other right when I got home and everything just got better. It like anything, it's a relationship. It takes time. It takes multiple conversations and multiple attitude checks, if you will. And I'm just going in there with a big smile and looking at my daughter as just someone who is just wonderfully and beautifully made. And with that new perspective, just the tension's gone. The irritation is gone. And it doesn't mean it's gonna be gone forever. I'm sure she'll do things that'll probably frustrate me and maybe even irritate me in the future. That's what us kids do to our parents, right? And vice versa. But anyhow, I just wanted to share that, and hopefully it hit the right person who or people who might be struggling with something similar. Just to be able to change the lens of how we're looking at these people in our lives who might be bothering us. Try to put ourselves in their shoes. Very rarely, if ever, is it just a one-way street where there's just one person who's doing all the damage. There's usually something that was either said or the way someone made the other person feel that maybe you haven't even reflected on yet. I know I hadn't, because for a while there it was just 100% her fault, not mine. And the more I've reflected on it and thought on it and prayed on it, and God has really just opened my eyes to say, hey, you're a big part of this as well. And it might have to take you changing your heart before she can change hers. And I believe that's what's happening here in our lives. So I will end at that. I love you guys, and I will talk to you on the next episode. And by the way, you are beautifully and wonderfully made. Chat soon.
Want more fishing tips, shortcuts, and tools so you can catch more fish per trip? Then head over to saltstrong.com now and join the movement. Tight lines, and thanks for listening.